Searching for deity, mortals do aspire. Craving immortality, Yaoguais surely will conspire!
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we are showcasing video games that focus on mythologies outside of Greek and Norse. While those pantheons and cultures have been explored a lot, we wanted to shine a light on others that are just as interesting. But before we dive in, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Inscription. This indie game got a lot of attention when it was released in 2021. Being a roguelike deck builder designed around a found footage horror narrative, it's got a lot going for it. Another thing that makes it unique is Leshy, the shadowy figure who forces you into playing its game. Leshy is a forest deity from Slavic mythology, a shapeshifter who often misleads or takes advantage of travelers in tales from folklore. Daniel Mullins, the developer, had come up with the villain's concept before learning about Leshy, and then included him because he fit so well. There are many other elements that make Inscription worth checking out, but the Slavic deity at its core is one of the strongest. Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy. It may seem a tad silly, and is, but Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy is one of the more underrated games to focus on Egyptian mythology. It follows the demigod, Sphinx, who must fight against the forces of Set, the god of deserts, storms, and, more importantly to the plot here, violence. Along for the ride is Tutankhamun, known in our world by many as King Tut, who is cursed to be a mummy. It's pretty fun as far as older action-adventure games go, and includes a ton of other notable figures and deities like Osiris and Horus. Sure, there are a lot of creative liberties taken, but it makes great use of its setting with strong puzzles and combat. Tales of Kinzera, Zao. Surgent Studios' Metroidvania follows Zao, an African shaman who makes a deal with Kalunga, the god of death and Bantu culture, in order to bring his father back from the dead. The studio was founded by actor Abubakar Salim, who also directed the game. It was inspired by the loss of his own father, as well as his time spent among Bantu tribes in South Africa. While it doesn't bring much new to the genre in terms of mechanics, it's still plenty fun to play. However, the heartfelt narrative and focus on mythology that's rarely explored in pop culture is what makes it worthy of your time.
He got a shrine for that.
His experiences are embedded in the masks you carry. Use these teachings well.
Folklore. Although it's all but been forgotten by now, the PS3's Folklore deserves a lot more love. Inspired heavily by Celtic mythology, it follows Ellen, a student with a mysterious past, and Keats, an occult journalist, who navigate the netherworld, the land of the dead. While there aren't really any traditional Celtic deities in the game, there are plenty of mythical creatures, many of which players utilize in combat. Upon release, its focus on Irish myth, especially with how that played in with world building and art direction, was the highest point of praise. It's a shame the game didn't perform well, causing future plans to be scrapped.
A murder in the village of the dead. Tell me this is a joke.
Never Alone. While some of its mechanics can be a bit cumbersome, as long as you're patient, there's a lot of beauty to be found in Never Alone. It's inspired by Native American mythology and folklore, specifically that of the Inupiat in Alaska. It follows a young girl named Nuna and her Arctic fox companion who brave a mystical blizzard ravaging their home in order to find and stop its source. Not only was Never Alone inspired by Inupiaq folklore, but many indigenous people also worked on it to ensure its accuracy. It adapts several traditional stories within its own narrative and received a handful of noteworthy awards for doing so. Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. From Software's catalog of games is often praised for similar elements, from the brutal boss fights to the usually stellar level design. In the case of Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, it also received acclaim for how it used elements of Japanese Buddhist mythology. While some of this can be seen in enemy designs, from the headless yokai to the divine dragon, much more of it plays into the story and philosophy, primarily concepts of rebirth and immortality. It's an incredibly fun and obviously challenging game to play, but seeing how it adapts these elements gives it another layer of greatness. A special shout out goes to the Nioh series, a Souls-like that also adapts Japanese myth with a heavier focus on yokai. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Most Prince of Persia games play it pretty light with actual Persian mythology, instead being more inspired by tales from the Arabian Nights. However, 2024's The Lost Crown went more heavily on the mythos. It follows Sargon, a member of the Immortals, named after an unparalleled group of warriors of the First Persian Empire. While searching for a kidnapped prince, he and his companions are trapped inside a strange pocket of time. Sargon gains abilities as he goes by collecting feathers of the Simurgh, a legendary bird across multiple tales. There are plenty of bosses and enemies that are also derived from Persian mythology, including the Manticore. But The Lost Crown is also just a really good Metroidvania in its own right. Tomb Raider series. Yeah, we're going to just throw a whole blanket on the Tomb Raider series. Lara Croft's adventures have shown her exploring a wide variety of cultures and mythologies, many of which are pretty solid and have a focus outside of Greek and Norse tales. The last revelation saw her explore Egypt and fight against Set after accidentally setting him free. She once again battled the deity in Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris, alongside Isis and Horus. That spin-off was a sequel to Guardian of Light, which saw her team up with an ancient warrior to stop the Mayan deity Xolotl. She even dabbled in Japanese myth in the 2013 reboot, which adapted an ancient shamaness named Himiko, albeit with some definite creative liberties. Simply put, if you want mythological tales outside of Greek and Norse, Tomb Raider is a good place to start. Black myth Wukong.
Those below, those above, and that black mutt of yours. Come at me, all of you.
There are two things that caught everyone's eyes when Black Myth Wukong was revealed. Its incredible visual flair, surprising from a studio unproven in big international releases, and its focus on Chinese mythology, specifically the figure of Sun Wukong from Journey to the West. It follows a monkey warrior known as the Destined One, who sets out to free Sun Wukong after he was sealed in stone centuries ago. His journey takes him through several real provinces in China, having him contend with a plethora of mythical creatures and deities in the form of bosses, such as Erlong-Shen, traditionally the Chinese god of water and hunting. The combat was praised, of course, as was putting one of the most famous figures in Chinese folklore front and center.
Wouldn't it be fun if I pluck your extra eye out for my snack and allow you to keep the other two?
Okami. Of all the games to focus on Japanese mythology, Capcom's Okami likely receives the most praise. With gameplay inspired by The Legend of Zelda, it tells the tale of Amaterasu, the Shinto goddess of the sun, who here takes on the form of a white wolf. As Amaterasu, players must save Japan from a curse placed on it by Orochi, an ancient, 8-headed demon. There were certainly a lot of elements that were changed in its mythical figures to fit the gameplay style, but everything about Okami is a success, from its stunning cel-shaded visuals to its unique celestial brush mechanic. It's an easy game to recommend on its own merit, regardless of one's interest in mythology. What's a mythological game you love that doesn't focus on Greek or Norse stories? Share it with us in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great gaming videos every day.
Baba would say the sun and moon never oppose one another. They labor for the same purpose. Never hold one over the other. It is a balance. Kamauhai Nakifu.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, there's more where that came from.